All right. Today we're really excited to have you guys on. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us. We have two very special speakers with us, Jeff Adams and Eric Ripley from MPS. Jeff, can you tell us a little more about MPS? What does that mean and what does your company do?
Yeah, happy to do that. So MPS actually stands for Making Privacy Simple. And that's been our niche for the last 20 plus years. We're based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. All of our product is designed and produced here in North Texas. As I said, we've been in business since 2002. It's hard to believe that was 20 years ago, but it is. And with that being said, we work really hard to keep our lead time short. Got a 3 to 4 week lead time for sound masking, 4 to 6 weeks for acoustic panels.
Yeah, speaking of lead time, you're manufactured in Texas? And
that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our acoustic panels are manufactured here in Texas.
What else is unique about MPS?
So a couple of big things. One thing that I really enjoy about our company, and I think a lot of our clients appreciate as well, is that our culture is very unique. And so we have what we call the MPS way. It's built around 29 fundamental behaviors that guide us. This is kind of a mashup of those on the screen there. We've highlighted some of our favorite ones, things like go the extra mile, get clear on expectations, be a fanatic about response time. So on that end of things, we're really built to serve and help and go out of our way for our clients. The other big thing that we do is we do provide a lot of acoustical products, but much more than that, we like to think of ourselves as acoustic problem solvers. Much more than that, we work really hard to not only provide you with the products, but also we work really hard to not only customers in your space. We're getting some feedback there. It looks
yeah,
like
Eric, you're popping up, Eric.
Customers in your space. So we are definitely acoustical problem solvers as well.
That's great. So what have you guys found to be some of the most common concerns that people have about sound in their spaces?
Eric, if the audio allows, I'm going to let you take this one.
So what have you guys found to be some...
All right, go ahead, Eric.
Oh.
Oh no.
Just have a little bit here.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Not real good. Jeff, can you take it back? Unmute him.
I can absolutely do that. Sorry for the technical difficulties here. So common acoustic concerns we run into, we get a lot of questions about acoustics and how to fix this and that. And really they boil down to a couple of key things that we see. The first one is distracting conversations. It's not uncommon that you can easily hear what people are saying, whether you're in like an open office area or a cubicle, or sometimes it's even the conversations that are happening through the walls. It's just really easy to understand and very distracting. A lot of times that turns into a major issue when privacy is needed. So when you have confidential conversations being spoken, but again, conversations can easily be heard from office to office, outside of offices, out in hallways, etc. And then the last big one is more related to the reverberation of sound. You get a lot of hard surfaces in conference rooms, even open areas with hard ceilings. And it can be really difficult, as we're learning with Eric right now with some of our technical difficulties. It could be difficult to have a face-to-face meeting, much less a Zoom call. And then, open office areas with hard surfaces, sometimes they can sound more like a bar or a restaurant. And this is Drink and Think, so I hope everybody's drinking right now. So maybe we're enjoying the bar atmosphere a little bit more. We got a cheers from the Tim O'Neill side of things. So anyways, these are the big concerns that we often run into.
Yeah, it was nice the way you guys planned that little thing with Eric and his issues. So that
and Eric is a remote employee for us, so he's working out of his house. We need to get him some acoustics there for sure.
Definitely. So there really is a difference between reverberation and sound transfer, which is nice to know. Which one is more often the issue? And if there is one, why is one more of an issue usually than another?
Yeah, great question. And I thought since we are drinking right now, I'd show a funny picture. This at least made all of us acoustical nerds laugh. What we have found, so the question was, which one's more common, reverberation or sound transfer? Most of the time, sound transfer tends to be the biggest issue that we run into in a typical workplace. It really boils down to often spaces are quiet. Sometimes walls aren't necessarily built the way they ought to be. They're not necessarily taking the deck, insulation, some of those other measures. And so sound transmission, sound transfer, lack of privacy tend to be the biggest issues that we deal with, or the most common issues.
So that sounds like it could be a little rough on the people utilizing those spaces. What can be done with them?
Yeah, so we like to talk about the ABCs of acoustic design. ABCs may be a little bit of heavy lifting for us since it's drinking thing. So help me out here. ABCs: absorb, block, and cover. Maybe we've heard this before, but these are really the basic components of what we can do to solve acoustical issues. Anytime you've got a space, I love this picture here. This is one of our partners up in the Pacific Northwest. They created like the ultimate echo chamber. Anytime you've got a lot of hard surfaces, you want to do whatever you can to introduce soft surfaces into a space to absorb sound. And that's really the A side of things. Under absorption, typically look at the NRC rating. That's the noise reduction coefficient. How well do products absorb sound versus reflect them back into the space? And then the other big thing that we look at is blocking. So what kind of walls are being put in? What are the STC ratings? And just the overall ability and properties of materials to be able to stop sound penetration and reduce some of that, the sound transfer from happening. The last one is another tool that we really love to use, and that's covering. The C part of it is covering with sound masking, introducing sound masking into a space to cover over sounds or muffle them.
Hey, Jeff, is there ever a benefit to combining both of those solutions?
It's funny you should ask that, Tim. So we actually, we like working with the acoustical people so that they make sure that what we're doing is legit. And so one of the questions we asked our acoustician one time was, is there a benefit to combining these things? Like, what's the best way to do it? So I don't even understand what all of this means down here. Really complicated formula.
Well, I'll explain it to you later if you want.
Yeah.
It's right up my alley.
Tim's going to help us out there. If anyone wants to know, send Tim a DM. I'm an ABCs kind of guy, to be honest with you. But it really boils down to, if you combine like absorption and blocking, absorption and covering, you start combining solutions, you get an exponential benefit there. For example, if you got proper absorption in a space, it's going to reduce noise, make it a little quieter. It's going to make the room softer. And then you can come in with the more comfortable level of sound masking. You don't necessarily have to run the sound masking at all cylinders to get the same benefit from it. And so combining solutions can be a huge tool for us when we're looking at a space.
So you sat there and said you bring in the acoustical people, which I've heard this word acoustician or whatever. One, is that really a word, which of course I can't pronounce it. Evidently it is really a word. Two, should the average space, the average end user have to hire one of these?
We get that question a lot. So what we have done is we've hired a lot of acousticians in the past on our projects, and also in developing our products and looking at how things should be implemented into a space. And on our end, we've done a lot of that work so that for the most part, we can work with people that need some acoustical help, but don't necessarily need to call in the surgeon to put a Band-Aid on things. And so we have calculators and tools that can really do a good job of giving you and your clients an idea of how these solutions are going to impact their customer space, how much material is going to be needed, where it should go, etc. So as cool as our favorite scientist, Doc, is, he's probably an acoustician because he's a cool guy. It's usually not necessary. The only caveat I would throw out there is if you have a project that's like a performance hall. You really need to be able to hear the piccolo solo. That's probably a good time to call in the acoustician and make sure that what you're doing is in line with what you need to be able to hear the piccolo from the back row of the performance hall.
All right, well, I've asked enough questions, I think. Does anybody else have any?
I have one. Hey, Jeff,
Is this Pete? I think I could see
This is-
Pete in the background.
yeah,
Hey,
hi
Pete.
there, Pete. Without being overly acoustic geeky, can you sort of give us the general basics on sound masking?
Did you just call me a nerd?
In so many words, pretty close.
All right. This is gonna be the coolest version of sound masking you've ever heard. With sound masking, we are typically, so first of all, what is sound masking? We get a lot of questions about noise, like what color is your noise? Is it white? Is it pink? Is it green? Is it brown? We have worked really hard to put together a system that is engineered specifically to mimic the spectrum and the frequencies of the human voice. Dang it, I already sound like a nerd, Pete. We want the system to be unobtrusive. That means we don't want it's not a noise generator. It's something that you can live with. It blends in your space. It should be very forgettable, but it's been designed to specifically reduce the intelligibility of conversations. So if I pull up my lovely picture of the guy with the big thing on his ear, if I can hear what Tim is saying in his office next to me, the sound masking is designed to make that less intelligible. Most important thing with the sound masking system, Pete, is that it's got to be comfortable and effective. I've got a 4-year-old, he can make a lot of noise. Promise you, you don't want him in your office all day to make sure you can't hear the person next to you. And so you really want the system to be comfortable and effective.
Where is sound masking used then?
Sound masking is used in a lot of different places. I've got a really good general rule of thumb here for sound masking. And it's not always intuitive. We get a lot of questions about where it should go. So the rule of thumb is to treat the ear that's hearing the problem. So if somebody can hear me, if I'm in my office and they can hear me out in the hallway, I want to treat the ear. So I want them to hear the sound masking, not me. And so I put it in the hallway. Couple of general guidelines. So I mentioned earlier, open office areas can be really distracting. You can hear people 15, 20, 30 feet away. You would mask an open office area to reduce that to a more manageable level. Also, if you've got any kind of sensitive offices, conference rooms, patient, exam rooms where anywhere you're having confidential conversations, you want to mask around those rooms to keep the people on the other side of the wall from hearing what's happening inside.
Hey, Jeff, can I jump in here for 1 second?
Yes.
On this little thing, I hear this whole dynamics or these questions about, hey, what's your STC rating of this glass wall or this wall or whatever? And, they get into this big thing about, okay, it's a 45 STC or it's a 35 STC, but doesn't the noise usually go up and over the panels as opposed to going through? And just from what you're saying, it almost sounds like that instead of STC, we should maybe use the sound masking.
Yeah, certainly can. So STC ratings typically refer to the glass fronts of the walls first and foremost, or maybe the demountable, like a demising wall or something like that. Sound is like water. Anywhere you have a hole, you're going to have a leak. Some of the more common places we see it are through the HVAC system, the ceiling tiles themselves. Most often walls don't go all the way to deck, and so the sound just goes right over. So you spend the extra money to get the STC 55 and you still don't have privacy. Those holes, those acoustical leaks are generally the culprit there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's a great point, Tim. And, that really ties to this last point here is we get a lot of questions about should we put it inside of a private office or not? And the standard answer is if you can hear the person in the office next to you and if they can hear you, and those are a problem, which for most people it is, then you need sound masking over the private offices as well. Remember, we're treating the ears.
Okay, I guess I got more questions then. So sound masking reduces this, the distractions and improves the privacy. What about acoustical panels? What do they do? And I see ceiling ones, I see wall ones.
Yeah,
When is the best to use, or is there a best time to use one or the other?
great question. So with acoustic panels, obviously on the design side, we love to design and create beautiful spaces, and that's what our clients want as well. Everything from, the FF&E all the way throughout the entire process. We end up with a lot of hard surfaces, glass, drywall, concrete, wood, metal, causes reverberation. That reverberation translates to the ear as like an echo or a feedback loop. Cue Eric again. And so acoustic panels are a great tool to absorb that sound, keep it from bouncing off of the hard surfaces. In our experience, it's typically advantageous to start with a ceiling solution. Putting absorption in the ceiling is a great way to consistently cover a room. You want to make sure that you're not necessarily putting all of your eggs in one basket. In this picture here, you can see we've got a lot of glass, and there's not really a whole lot of area to put acoustic panels on the wall. We were able in this one to fit a few decorative panels on the wall, but the ceilings can be a great place to start. Another really important thing with like a ceiling baffle or even a cloud is you're actually exposing more of the material to put something on a wall. You've effectively got a front and a back. But in the ceiling, when it hangs, you've got multiple sides of material that become usable surface area. Acoustic.
Hey, Jeff, real quick on that back picture. Those things are like, there's nothing in the center. Is that more advantageous than just a solid baffle?
Yeah, this is our Fuse product. So we designed this one to be the ultimate solution when it comes to a ceiling baffle. You can kind of see it's got a little bit of an open cavity on the bottom, and it's really designed to, this isn't a scientific explanation by any means, but to suck up sound. Since we're drinking right now, maybe we,
Good one.
there we go. I'm just reminding everybody. Actually, I thought about, maybe we could play some kind of a buzzword bingo type drinking game. That we'll save that for next time. Anyway, yeah. So this one, you do have a big open cavity there that's going to absorb and diffuse sound at the same time. A lot of performance out of this baffle. You mentioned wall panels and other things. So wall panels can also be a great solution. Wall panels typically work very well when you need something to look beautiful and amazing and fit into the space. Smaller rooms like huddle rooms, phone rooms, any kind of, if you do have an acoustical ceiling grid, even in a conference room, then you can get a lot more mileage out of doing wall panels. I will caution you, if you're looking at an acoustic solution and you want to just slap a couple of things up on the wall, acoustically, it may not do all that much for you. So, there is sometimes a little bit of consultation needed there if you need the product to do something for you.
Would it also take that much more product to do the same thing that a wall baffle or even like this picture shows?
Absolutely. You're typically, when you do walls, you're going to need to do more than one wall in most rooms, most spaces. If it's bigger than about 8 by 8, you're going to have to cover a lot more space. So you end up with a lot more product to do the same thing that you would do with fewer ceiling baffles. I love, the other side of acoustic panels is you can multi-purpose a lot of these solutions. And so when we're working with designers, dealer partners, different people, we're often trying to brainstorm ways that we can introduce acoustical materials into a space that serve multiple purposes. So like desk screens, space dividers, even things that double as artwork or branding, signage, to introduce acoustical products and properties, but also you get a lot more out of what the acoustic panel can do for you whenever we're able to do multiple uses out of them.
Hey, Jeff. I know that MPS has some amazing custom capabilities. Would you be able to show us a couple of examples of those?
Michelle loves our customization.
I love that part of your website. Yes.
A couple of my favorite custom projects that we've done. So this is one in Denver. Denver's got the beautiful skyline with the Rocky Mountain backdrop. And so we worked with this partner here to create this beautiful project. We actually incorporated backlighting into this one, which was fun and gave it some additional character. So you've got the beautiful accent piece. Couple of other projects that we've done a lot of these mural type things where you've got maybe a hallway or a break room and you want to do something fun and creative, absorb some sound. And then this is also another exciting technology that we like to work with customers on. So we can actually print on our acoustic material. It doesn't change the acoustic properties. It's UV printed. So, you know, it's not like a silk screen or anything like that. And we can do some really amazing things. This client, they're in like the, they're in the science, like laboratory type business. And so they put together some images that they wanted to see, but most of the time when people see this, they think it's artwork, which it is, but it's also acoustical. And so that ability to customize has been very beneficial to a lot of our clients for sure. Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And can you tell us a little bit about what the process is like, and are there additional costs involved in doing something like that?
Yeah, we love to help our clients customize the product. We found that everyone wants to express themselves in their design and in their, you know, they kind of want to put their stamp on it. And so we work really hard to make that easy for our customers. We don't typically upcharge for customization. We charge based on material. And so if we're cutting a logo, designing something that's custom, we're charging based on material. So there's not really an upcharge to do that. We also have interior or internal design staff and a design team that can help bring these projects to life. So here's an example where this is Houston. I'm in Dallas. So if you guys were wondering where the accent was from, I think I mentioned at the beginning anyways. There's a little bit of a rivalry with Dallas and Houston. I don't know if you guys run into any of that in Ohio or Pennsylvania, but
No, especially between like Cleveland and Pittsburgh, there's no, and Cincinnati.
and
We all-
there's some kind of a nasty feud between Eastern PA and Western PA, right?
Just a little bit, a little friendly competition.
Okay, so anyways, in Houston, this designer took this graffiti bridge as inspiration for a piece that she was working on. She gave us the good old napkin sketch. Napkin sketches are completely welcome in our world. And then our design team went to work to put it into CAD, bring it all to life, figure out how it was going to make. Everybody hold their breaths, get ready, get your drinks ready. Here's the final product.
Ah, very nice.
Turned out pretty amazing. So very dimensional, colors, all of that good stuff.
Jeff, we have a question in the chat. Can acoustic panels be used as tack board solutions?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kristen. We do have a lot of clients that tack the product. The one thing I will say, it is tackable. It's not self-healing. So know your client, know exactly what they're looking for. It can totally be tacked. We've done a lot of wall panels, desk screens, different things that people are tacking into.
But the one thing I do want to warn people though is when you do tack an acoustical panel, you've taken away the efficiency of the acoustical panel because the noise can't get to the acoustic, that portion of the acoustical panel. So wherever there's anything tacked up to it, you've now made that acoustical part very basically null and void.
True. That is very true. It tends to be when we do it, it's more of like the acoustics are a secondary feature of the material, and being able to tack and do fun things with colors and all of that tends to be more important. Thank you for watching the chat, Amber.
Oh, yeah.
So what about cost? Is this stuff expensive when you do, like the one picture you had that branding? Is that expensive?
Not really. Let me go back to the picture just so everybody remembers what we're looking at here. So something like this, you're looking at about $20. So if you think about a 3 foot by 4 foot panel, do the math for me. It's like $240 to have your 3-dimensional custom acoustical panel with all of these really cool features. So you know, cost is always one of those things that everyone's budget's a little bit different. Everyone's concept of money is a little bit different. We found it to be a very cost-effective solution for most projects. And we can also work really hard, Tim, to, once we understand what a client's budget is, we can help recommend and put together solutions that fit within that. Even, whether it's a design thing or we're trying to solve an acoustical issue, we can totally help consult. And if we need to be up here, but the cost is down here, we can talk through that and talk through what you're going to get out of what you can afford. Good question.
And just let everybody know too, these guys love to get on Zoom calls, whatever, and sit there and work through the process and the problem with you with just you or with you and your client or designer or whatever.
We totally do. And Eric, we won't let Eric unmute himself. We'll have him in our hands, but Eric's phenomenal at that. Some of you have probably had a chance to work with Eric. He does like to consult and collaborate. And, in our world, we have found that most of the time, if we just send a quote and get a PO in return, that's usually when things go bad. And so we at least like to ask a couple of questions. We're not trying to make your life difficult. We're not trying to make you do a bunch of work, but we do like to sleep at night. And with that comes, we want to make sure we're putting the best solutions and recommendations together.
Very cool. Speaking of these beautiful 3D panels, don't we have a special surprise for we're going to raffle off something on the call?
Yes, we are. So I put together a couple of examples here, and the idea that we had was that we would love to give some folks an opportunity to create their own MPS panel. It could be as easy as you borrow an image off of Google and say, I want the Pittsburgh skyline, or I want this really cool saying or whatever. You send that to us, or you draw it up on a napkin. We'll put it together, something approximately 3 feet by 4 feet. We can build it to where it mounts directly to the wall if you want that. If you want to lean it on the wall, we can collaborate on those couple of details. But we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to do that. So a couple of examples here. Yours won't have the little handle on the top that you see in these images unless you want one. These are just examples that we've made to show folks in the A&D community in various markets. But yeah, so Amber, are you doing the raffle now?
Yes, we are going to do it live. So I have my trusty little bowl here, and
We
everyone.
actually have witnesses too.
Yeah,
that
and-
sit there and make sure that
Mostly it's my name.
that's anything else.
All right, so the first one is Kelly Chenoweth. Congratulations, Kelly.
Yay, congrats,
Sign your
Kelly.
MPS 3-dimensional panel. And the next one is Donna Zhang.
All right.
Congratulations, Donna. And then Robert Desort.
Right.
Well, congratulations. everyone.
Congratulations, everyone. Thanks
That's
for
very exciting. So if you could reach out to your favorite person at Tim O'Neill and Associates, and we'll get the process started. We'll start working through designs and hopefully delivering those to you all soon. Can't wait to see what you come up with either.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with you guys.
Great. Oh, that was so good. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Michelle.
So, yeah, Tracy here. It just seems
Hey,
pretty
Tracy.
clear that reverberation and sound transfer issues are very common. I know I've been called in several times to consult on them. If one of our listeners, designers, has an acoustical challenge, what is the process in which they need to go through to get help?
That is a great question. And remember, Tracy, our name stands for Making Private Simple. We want to make this real easy for you. So the best thing to do, contact your local rep. I've got everybody up here. If I'm missing anybody, I'm so contact your rep and they'll get you introduced to MPS. They'll be your concierge through the process. You're not going to have to do a whole lot. We'll want to know a couple of basic details. Do you have floor plans or a furniture layout? Maybe a brief description of what the issue is that the client's concerned about. And then we can totally get to work and make it an easy process for you.
Hey, Jeff, one quick thing. Can you tell what the uniqueness of MPS's sound masking is versus anybody else?
Yeah, the biggest thing with our sound masking system, so we've worked really hard to create a technologically advanced system, latest and greatest state-of-the-art technology. One thing that we found even before, the modern post-pandemic era, it's really hard to predict what an office is going to sound like from not only day to day, which has really exacerbated during COVID, but sometimes from hour to hour. 8 o'clock in the morning, people are drinking coffee, they're checking email, space is really quiet. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, there's a lot more activity, phones are ringing, people are collaborating, it's a lot louder. And then at 4:30, 5 o'clock, everybody's doing drinking thing. And so it's gonna
Sounds really
be
loud.
real loud as soon as we're finished with this call. But that can be really challenging to plan. And so instead of like going into the software and scheduling or always having to call the sound masking person, we've automated that. So we've installed adaptive control sensors that monitor those background levels and automatically adjust the sound masking volume. With the hybrid work environment that we all love and take advantage of these days, that's even more important because everybody's in the office on Tuesdays, nobody's in the office on Fridays. You always want to make sure you've got the right level of sound masking without having to think about it and actively manage the system. So it does its own thing there.
Well, I know I've hogged up all the questions and everything else. Does anybody have any questions for Jeff?
Where's the chat?
She's already looked. If not, everybody, thank you so much for attending. If you do know of any of your colleagues that you'd want, or they think they would get an advantage or, could use this, we did record it and we're more than happy to send it out to anyone. And we appreciate Jeff. We appreciate your time and hopefully your weather is a heck of a lot better than our weather. And we are going to have to come to the factory soon. So if anybody has a project, like especially in January or February, we can go to the factory to sit there and see it through.
There you go.
So thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
I think we have one more
Oh.
question.
Oh, what is it?
Yeah.
So from Kristen, are panels sold as solid SH or?
I think she's asking if we can sell full sheets. Kristen, we can, if that's what you're asking.
Great, that one.
We can sell full sheets. And so on that real quick, our standard sheet sizes we have available 4x8, 4x10 for all of our grayscales, whites, blacks, neutrals. The jewel tones are 4x8.
And Christian, you sat there and said it went way too fast. If you want us to do a much longer one, we'd love to do a much longer one. Eric or Jeff and I could talk for hours.
It was more the drinking than anything else because.
Oh, that's what went too fast. Not you and I talking. Oh, it was just your question sent too fast. Dang. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great holiday since, gosh, next week's Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh.
Best holiday.
Wow.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks, Karen.
everybody.